We're live. There it is. All right. So, Lowlife, the hit of the year, man. You guys are blowing everyone out of the water.
Yeah, thanks.
Tesh?
Yeah.
Tesh, how do you say your last name?
Guttikonda.
Guttikonda. Oh, yeah. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Probably, I should have went for it, but I was like,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna ask just to be safe.
I
Mitch, how do you say
appreciate it.
your last name?
Oliver.
Oh, okay.
My daughter's name is Oliver, so I think she knows how to say that name.
Nice.
So we got Duritan here. He says it's glorious that we are all doing this. Duritan is probably our most avid fan and says wonderfully positive things no matter what I'm doing. So,
well, it makes sense. I just want to, quickly start this off too by thanking both of you for, first of all, watching the movie, having fun with it and sharing it around. Because definitely seen a bunch of YouTube channels come out of the woodworks and review the film, and they're all dropping your guys' channel as the ones who suggested this. So we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I strong-armed people into it. I was like, you don't got no, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, it's a super fun film. I think like one of the things that we probably liked best about it is just how unexpected, the twist is. Like, I think you guys really play with the expectations. So it's super cool. It's rare, I feel like, that you get movies that do that successfully. And I think you guys accomplished it.
Yeah, I'm curious on, from a marketing standpoint, this must have been a big question on how do you market this film. And, we went into this blind because shout out to Alex from Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. I've been taking a lot of the credit for bringing this to all the YouTubers that I know's attention. But Alex is actually the one who watched this first and brought it to my attention. And then I kind of imposed my will on everyone else and was like, no, you guys are going to watch this. And we're all going to talk about it because I think that this is a film that's going to get overlooked because it's Tubi original and most people dismiss those immediately out of hand. And I'm like, no. They make good ones here and there. They're rarer, I will agree. But I definitely wanted this to get more attention. But I was thinking about it, we watched this blind on Alex's recommendation. And because of that, we didn't watch a trailer. We try not to watch trailers in general just because they're spoilerific. But when I was watching it, I was like, this is I wonder what this trailer looks like. I wonder how they got around that. So after we watched the movie, I watched the trailer and I was actually pretty impressed with how it was done. Did you guys have those conversations before, during, after, all of the above?
Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Tubi kind of took the lead on the trailer and some of the marketing. We did the custom poster ourselves that went on the IMDb. It's the red one, but they kind of did the rest of the marketing. So for us too, it was kind of like a wild card. But at the same time, I think our entire process on this film was kind of like we just wanted to throw ourselves in it, have the best time, and see what shakes out. Like not overthink it too much. It's because like when you kind of make like a such a fun movie, it's sometimes just good to just see how the dice rolls once you kind of go with it. And we're pretty stoked on I think how Tubi ultimately did handle the trailer itself. Like the marketing of that was pretty good because I don't think they gave that much away. It's misleading in the best way, but it's kind of nice. And then the word of mouth, of course, is like where we felt like a lot of streaming now more than anything banks on, because I feel like even with a lot of other major streamers too, they just kind of like dump their good ones out there and then people just kind of decide, and that's the real gauntlet out there. So I think for us too, like the compass has always been to like make something for the audience and make something good, make something that we would love and have a great time with. So I don't think we overthink it that much after beyond that. Yeah.
And it seems like you were happy with the trailer that you saw because, how much say would you have over it if you didn't like the trailer? Probably not much.
No, well, not at all.
Yeah, well, we saw the trailer after it was already done,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was nice to see that they did listen to, I know, like, especially one of our EPs, Brad Luff, he fought for that as well to try and conceal the twist. But it was pretty funny because from the get-go, even Tesh and I, when we first signed on for it, you look through the script and it's like, I didn't really buy that people were going to not see it coming from a mile away. So we kind of didn't even think about that while we were making it. It was just more so trying to make the best movie that we possibly could. But it's really nice to see that it is surprising people. I do worry about, like, if people are tuning in now, if you haven't seen it, the more people talk about the crazy twist, the more they're going to just go in expecting it. But luckily, there's a couple tricks up the sleeve of this movie.
So yeah,
I love the idea. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that it was hard from your standpoint for sure, but from a reviewer standpoint, our standpoint, it was a very, we had to have that conversation, and I also had to have the conversation. It was the way I had to recommend it, and then the way I had to discuss it with other YouTubers after, because we all, after they'd watched the movie, much like us, they kind of were like, how the fuck do I review this? And it was like, yeah, it's complicated because, people want to be sold on something. It's hard to give a synopsis without giving something away, because obviously something happens fairly quickly. And you don't want to say like, well, there's some big twist, because then people are like, well, there's a twist and now I'm going to be looking for it.
Right.
But you don't want to not say something, because then they're going to like go and try to look things up.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of thing. So it's a really hard balance that I found. And every YouTuber I know contacted me after they watched this and were like, oh, I see what you're saying. Like, this is going to be a pain in the ass to review. Spoiler free.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, I think that's a wonderful testament, but we all want to protect your film. I think most people in the chat honestly have seen it, because we were pretty convincing on the channel. So we aren't going to talk spoilers just in case, but I just found it one of the most complicated reviews that I've done. And then my other fellow YouTubers were also like, how? And we kind of all approached it like collectively, like, okay, I think if we approach it this way, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So we put a lot of thought into what we do, is what I'm saying. And you guys,
you did a fantastic job, and everyone else that we're seeing reviewing it is doing the same. But it is kind of fun from our stance to look at people kind of sweating when they're like, I don't know how I can talk about this movie. But it's just a miracle that people are watching it and enjoying and catching on.
Yeah, I'm glad that Tubi like concealed and as you said, was misleading with the trailer. I think that's great, because there's lots of people that love trailers. As we said, we don't really watch them, but tons of people want to know what they're getting into. And but it's just such a fun movie. It was, and I think one of the things we talked about too, like was how infuriating it is too, because again, we're going to try and not talk spoilers, but it was like angering to watch, especially in the third act, but it was like such a good angering too. It's a weird combo.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question on that would be, you guys didn't write it, right? I mean, you worked alongside of this writer. Did you guys ever have discussions about the ending being different?
I mean, to be honest, like, we got thrown into this production pretty close to having to shoot it. We had, I think, 3.5 weeks of prep and 12 days to shoot it.
Wow.
So for us, it was like quite the undertaking of the gauntlet to just get this script into shape, even in a level where we felt really excited about what we had to shoot, and just kind of really work with it to hone in on the elements that are feasible within the production constraints and everything. So by the time it kind of came down to certain major discussions like the ending and some of the arcs where the characters could go, those are like massive rewrites, and we didn't necessarily have like that much of like a flexibility or time to lock in on it, because we just kind of came in and it's like, okay, we understand the assignment, this is what we can hone in. So it was easier to like chip away and like really make it great around the elements that are already working. There was so much that was there. So we kind of just decided to double down on what the script is rather than worrying too much about changing the script. Like a lot of, I think, you've heard the horror stories with a lot of movies where sometimes they're like rewriting during the production and everything like that. But we just decided to just trust our actors, trust their ability to improv and come up with stuff on the day and just kind of ride with it. But it also like kind of honed in on us like on settling and locking in on a particular trajectory for it. So we kind of understood like the direction that the ending would appeal to, like even being horror fans and fans of the genre, we knew like how many people it would split and everything like that. But given the constraints, it felt like it was still like the right move to go with, because I think to go another direction with a different ending would require us to like massage quite the rest of the other film and really like plant the seeds properly and tie things in together and change a lot of the climax even, like there's definitely alternate ending ideas we definitely have, but that would require us to like kind of change the hierarchical structure of like even how the entire event unfolds in the finale to make that work. But yeah, it's really fun regardless of us. We just said let's commit and we'll ball.
Yeah. And I think we can both say that we like the ending. Like we stand by it, because even if it's gonna anger some people, like we knew that was gonna happen, it's generating a reaction. People are paying attention to it, and I've always been a fan of endings like that. So
yeah
I was somewhat convinced that there was going to be like a post-credits stinger tease for a sequel.
Yeah, it almost felt like that was
give us another day and we would have.
Day 13. You said 12 days, right?
Yeah.
How many days?
Yeah.
12 days.
Yeah. So is this your first time working together, or have you worked together in the past?
No, first time.
This is first.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Tesh, you're taking it this time.
We worked at this company because I was kind of looking for a day job after producing a couple features, and I just needed a place to like unwind and develop for a little bit. And Mitch was working over at the same production company, and he worked as a production coordinator over there, and we just like got to know each other just working in that office. Same sensibilities, tastes, preferences, just kind of getting like such an understanding of each other over the year that when this opportunity kind of came along, and for both of us it's our first time directing, we kind of had like experience behind the scenes with like ADing and producing a bunch of stuff, and we've both done a whole lot of shorts on our own. But to kind of get the confidence of the studio, especially because we're both like really creative and we wanted to showcase that we could do a great job, it just felt like a no-brainer for us to just kind of pool our minds together and just kind of pitch ourselves as a team, because we both brought different strengths into this, and it just kind of felt like such an organic thing. I think like when you're kind of working with somebody, the biggest thing that you want to kind of align with is taste and sensibility, and being able to laugh at the same jokes, I think is like a big thing. So knowing that we already had that as like a baseline understanding, and knew that we would be able to like work towards a movie that both of us would be excited about, made it such an easy leap to jump into. And like a lot of relationships or anything like that, collaborations or whatever it is, it's always like a leap of faith. And we're such firm believers in taking those kinds of chances and just kind of jumping into it. And I think this is one of those things where everything about it, when it was presented to us, a lot of people were kind of scared to take this project on because of the timelines and like the budget and the resources and the shooting days and everything. But we're just like such naive idiots that we were like, you know what? Just jumping in with this like big smiles on our faces, because just for the love of the genre, and just getting excited that we had these resources to work with that are more than what we had before. For us, it's just like, okay, we're not just shooting with a bunch of friends, we're not just like bringing a bunch of people together, but we have like some kind of a budget, so that's great. And then it kind of lends itself into it, and that melding of the minds and the alignment of understanding that it made it so easy to just kind of say yes to the collaboration. And then throughout the whole process, we had a lot of fun. And I think we always kind of like landed on a very similar decision or a choice or anything at the end of the day. So it was really fun. Yeah.
I'm curious on that then, because you said you're brought into it last minute. How much of this production was already like done? Like, what did you come into in that regard? Did they already have the casting done? Did they already have like location scouting and all of that stuff and the budget set aside and everything? Like, you guys just kind of walked in and
no, with them, they just kind of locked in on a date and said, hey, we're going to shoot it by then. So we had to build everything from scratch, but they were just kind of looking for like a team to kind of bring it all together. So we were very much responsible for all of the creative decisions that kind of happened throughout and the casting and everything, which
so you casted this how fast?
Within like 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really fast. And you knew some of these people, or these were all new people to you?
I think a big advantage that we had was the strikes. I mean, not that it's like an advantage, it's kind of like an unfortunate thing to happen to the industry, but we kind of started this production right after the strikes were ending. So they were just kind of like a very definite point. So there was a lot of actors just wanting
we're hungry.
Yeah.
Put us on screen.
Yeah.
So we got really lucky with like the whole cast on this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, I felt like everybody did a great job with their performances, and I really like the dark comedy that's in there too, because there's a lot of scenes that are just, again, it's like the anger, but it's also funny because it's like they're so evil and you just can't believe people would be like that. So I think you guys nailed that, and the actors that you cast did a great job.
Yeah, great casting.
Yeah.
You guys yourselves did the casting?
We had a casting director, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was gonna say you guys are like, damn. But you did them. I mean, that's one of the best things about doing interviews like this is like when you get the ins and the outs, behind the scenes stuff. It's like, you know, people don't understand what goes into making a film unless they've done it. And hearing this now, and we haven't even heard the whole story yet, but just from what we've heard so far, the film is the film is so much more impressive to me now. You know, it was pretty impressive to me before, but coming into it so late in the game and being like thrown into it and just saying screw it and doing it is yeah, it's commendable and really impressive. And now I'm just stroking your egos, but I'm serious.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Keep it going. Before we continue, though, we keep getting comments from Daddy Dave.
Oh
here.
no, Jesus Christ!
I think, and then his name's Dave Oliver now. So I don't know. Is this two different accounts?
Oh my God!
I don't know who this is.
Okay.
Pretty easily.
So
I raised you better, and then look at this here. Oh wow, ow, that hurts. That hurt. You know what though? I'll tell you this. My dad isn't in the comments, so I wish that he was at least berating me. He doesn't even know I exist. Just kidding.
yeah, that would be that's our editor, Jason Hamill. He likes making jokes about my dad. And,
so this is not your actual father.
No.
Okay.
I mean, depends what day it is. He is daddy to me. But Jesus, sorry about that.
Not at all. It's great.
We also had a little comment here. It's a super chat, so I gotta
super sticker.
Give it real quick.
Thank
I'm
you,
in Canada, and it's not on my Tubi yet. When is it gonna be in Canadian Tubi? Why don't you get a VPN, man? Like everybody else.
This Friday, Friday, May 10th, it's going to be available on Crave, which is like Canada's answer to Hulu. You know, it's just kind of a similar type of platform. We don't get Hulu here, but yeah, Crave it's a great app. I have it. I've used it for years, and it's exciting that it's going to be on there. We just found out today that you can still see it in Canada, but on the CTV app. But definitely recommend people wait until Friday so they can see it without ads.
You know, we interviewed the director of Where the Devil Roams, which is another Tubi original, and his story was wildly different than your guys' story, since Tubi was actually the ones like behind this and got it all together and put you guys in charge of this, as to where they kind of like came in later in the game.
Yeah.
And were involved. So it seems that when it comes to Tubi, they don't really have a preferred method here. They're kind of just doing all sorts of different strategies on how these films are made. But they came to you specifically and asked you guys, or they came to your production company? You said you both worked at the same, what was it, production company?
Yeah, same production company.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just, I'm so curious on how Tubi operates with their originals, because they put out so many, and as you kind of said, like the promotion of these, Netflix does like a pretty like shit job of promoting their stuff to dependent. There's some things they promote, but a lot of what they do, they just drop, right? As to where Tubi, oh my God, nothing. There's I never see I don't think I've ever seen like a promotion for a Tubi original in my life.
I don't know if I have.
I mean, we just have to roll the dice, and I'm the one who's always watching the Tubi originals. I watched pretty much everything they've made this year.
That's the best part about the horror community, though. That's like I'm a part of the same camp. I grew up watching just any movie I could get my hands on, and I've been a fan of Tubi for years because they were, harvesting so many classic, like great, underseen horror movies from the 80s and 90s. But it's just pretty amazing that people can just find these movies on their own, and then they kind of grow their own life out of it, and people just kind of start exploring it, and then we end up in situations like this where people are chatting about it, and that's one of the beautiful parts of the genre.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, since you both said that you were fans of the genre, if you have, I know it's always a hard question to be like, what's your favorite horror movie? But do you have films that really inspire you, or directors that you quite enjoy? I'd be curious for each of you what those are.
Or maybe the movies that inspired your direction on this movie in particular.
Yeah, if there was anything.
Yeah. You and me?
Yeah, you, Mitch. Tesh is
taking
taking all of the lion's share of the time. I want to hear what you got to say, man.
No, I don't know. Like, I'm just a diehard horror fan to begin with. And I think, one of of course, I have the favorites like John Carpenter and Wes Craven and all that stuff. But I definitely love what was really exciting about this project is I am like a diehard horror fan, and that's where I feel the most comfortable. That's where I've spent the most time just really obsessing as a kid and as a teenager and as an adult. So Sam Raimi is someone that I've always just really looked up to, because I love how he can make The Evil Dead and then also make a simple plan. And that was something that Tesh and I discussed before we started directing this movie, was we were able to infuse a lot of our other influences that weren't a part of the horror genre. Like we referenced Fargo a lot when we were directing this movie, or developing it. And same with Green Room, but movies like that, like that's just kind of where we love to play with now. I don't know where the question, like favorites.
Sure.
If there's any favorites that come to mind. Yeah.
favorite movie of all time is Jaws, and that doesn't even it's horror or not, whatever people want to say. I think you're an idiot if you say it's not a horror movie. Which was also shout out to Jason for wearing a Jaws shirt during our
did I? Yeah. That's ironic.
Yeah, serendipitous.
But I just love movies like Jaws, The Thing, Alien, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Big fan of that, but I'm also a huge fan of what we have going on these days. Like pretty much anything by David Bruckner gets me excited.
Sure.
It's like The Ritual, The Night House, all that kind of stuff. It's just such an eclectic genre, so that's why I love it so much. You can cover so many bases. I want to hear from Tesh about this one, though. I don't know if we've even discussed this.
Oh, my favorite horror? That's pretty easy for me. It's The Thing. And I think like Tarantino was also such a big influence for at least like a big chunk of directorial stuff that we were pulling in terms of like kind of giving the actors the freedom, when you kind of like trust the characters and just the fun and just like I think the cinema of it all, where you're just having a great time every day and just creating the best set. It's kind of that. We want to just create like a really fun, infectious energy, and a big part of that is like kind of coming from that. And then I'm a huge fan of Get Out. I think just being just a person of color, sometimes it's just like a movie that resonates so well with me, and being able to take like something that's kind of like a tough subject matter to discuss, but like wrap it in a coat of comedy and tension, and giving it so many like multi-genre layers is a huge part of just the kind of films that I love to make. I'm like a genre blending filmmaker, so I love the ability to like turn comedy into horror, into like musicals, whatever it is. It's just like, it's really inspiring to see that. So I think those are probably like the big ones that have kind of struck me as like the pinnacle of the kind of films that I'd want to aspire to kind of like trying to make something of.
Yeah.
Speaking of other horror movies, I think I'm spotting. I have an eagle eye here. Am I spotting a tiny little druid's hand poster behind your right shoulder, Mitch? Right?
Yeah, that's a VHS.
It's a VHS.
Yeah.
Oh, you had your own little movie made into a VHS. How cool! That's a short that he made. It is on YouTube for anyone who wants to watch it. That was your directorial debut, and then this is like your feature directorial debut, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Tesh, you also, this is your directorial debut, but you actually wrote or co-wrote another movie that we really enjoyed from last year.
Yeah.
The Influencer, which we gave a pretty glowing review to. And someone here, I think they might know you as well. They might be in here supporting you. But I was also, when I saw this, I was like, okay, there you go. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
There going to be a sequel to Influencer, or are you not a sequel guy?
I'm not involved with the sequel or anything of that sort. But it's I don't even know like what we can necessarily disclose, but like nothing can be like obviously written off the cards with the way I think the film industry works. I think it's like way to navigate that. But yeah, it's Influencer was such a great time and a blast. Like that movie was my film school. Producing it out in Thailand, just 3 months. Again, it's kind of one of those insane feats of achievement where we went out with a 10-person crew and made something with an extremely low budget that could really shine. And that taught me everything that in many ways kind of like helped me roll over into this one as well, when we were kind of coming up against so many production constraints or anything. We love making, when we're talking about being able to come in and do these kinds of things, it's the best part about this is like for us, it's acknowledging like the mad scientists that we're able to like wrangle together to make these kinds of films. Like we had some of the most amazing crew on Lowlifes just come out for the passion of it, because of the kind of films that Mitch and I tend to make, because it isn't just like people that are looking at it from like a corporate lens, but from like okay, these guys are going to do something crazy within these constraints, so we're going to jump in. Like Andy Lee as an example, who was their special effects makeup, and he and Lindsay as well. Like they did such a phenomenal job with all of the practical effects and the gore and everything like that for practically no money, and just staying up all night and just building like custom hands and fingers and everything like that on like an insanely low budget, which is just like absolutely unreal. So it's so vital to like kind of shout out, and like a production designer like Diz and Matt Young are insane DP, and there's just and our editor Jason, who is just here in this chat as Daddy Dave Oliver, who had to cut this movie together in 2.5 weeks. So
Wow.
there's a pipeline here that churns out movies very quickly, but we decided to jump into it with such a, I think like the spirit of the love of making these kinds of things with just the best mad scientists to pull it all together. And I think like what we see is that the love that we kind of poured in and the amount of fun that we had making it is what's like translating. I think there's always like a magic that comes from it. I think you can always tell when you make a movie that's like kind of corporately jammed together versus like, oh my god, these people actually had like a genuine blast making this. Because like when you kind of like let go and operate with that, there's just a lot of happy accidents that come together, just like things start to work, and it just becomes like an extremely beautiful way of the process. And we had like a blast from like day one to now, and even now, like for us, we're such an audience too, so to be able to be a part of like, you know, going on Letterboxd or hearing reviews on YouTube and just seeing the joy and like being able to relive it vicariously through the people experiencing it, because I think we did make like a fun, crowd pleasing film. And I think the one thing about streaming that's kind of like always going to be a bummer is not being able to watch this theatrically with like a crowd, because I feel like this is something that hopefully, if our careers become better, it's something we would love to like, you know, have some sort of cult like resurgence where it can be shown in theaters and stuff, because, you know, to have like some of the iconic lines and experience that in a live audience where it's just going to be such an awesome thing to see as well. So I hope like eventually it can move towards a place where we can enjoy it with crowds of people as well, instead of like everyone streaming it.
You can make it happen.
Yeah, it would be so fun to see a live theater reaction. I think it would get a ton of like energy in the theater from everything. So yeah, I hope that happens one day.
It would of course have to be people who haven't seen it, but that would be kind of more difficult, I think. But you could still get a good reaction out of people who have seen it, but seeing it with a fresh audience would be best for sure.
Totally.
And speaking of Daddy Dave Oliver, once again, there's a little bit of an argument going on in here. Kyle Grant is your dad, and then don't ever talk to my husband ever again. And then if you love him so much, why don't you marry him? We got some friends going on in the comments here, man. Go on. Will there ever be a Blu-ray release? This is actually a good question. Has Tubi put a movie on like DVD or Blu-ray? That's a good question. I don't know. There's only been like 3 Tubi originals I've ever enjoyed that I like really loved, which was Where the Devil Roams, Lowlifes, and the Little Bone Lodge, aka The Last Exit. Have you guys seen those?
I haven't yet, but I heard really good things about the Little Bone Lodge and Where the Devil Roams.
Cool movie. And then the other one too is a family that makes films together. They're called the Addams Family.
Oh, is that the Addams? That's the Addams Family? Crazy. Yeah, I loved Hellbenders. Their movie.
Yeah, that's who we interviewed, was the dad. Toby, the mom, was supposed to be on too, but she had to take. They had something happen. They had a little
thing happen with one of their cast
members. It is what it is. Oh, that's what it was. That was right.
But so a Blu-ray release or any physical media? Do you know?
We have no idea.
No idea.
No idea. Yeah.
Are we like allowed to just like pirate something and then put our own version out?
I'm sure it exists.
Yeah, I definitely want one really bad, because I'm just like you guys, where I'm a physical media collector, and I know Tesh is as well. And of course, we want our movie on Blu-ray. That would be awesome. Or totally. VHS or Betamax or anything.
Or all of
Betamax,
them. All of
absolutely. Laserdisc. Do them all.
Yeah.
So at this point, because you made the deal with Tubi, you guys are basically just kind of disconnected from the film as far as its marketing, as far as its release. All of that stuff is up to them, and you're just kind of like, oh well, it's whatever they do with it, we'll find out.
I mean, you guys are the marketing team.
Yeah,
honestly.
Like
the word of mouth.
We kind of talked about it too, but honestly, it's like with a Tubi release, like we didn't ever kind of come into this expecting the tail end of the finishing to be what they picked up. But like having done influencer before and seeing like the word of mouth spread for that, and so much of horror just like rides on word of mouth as well, that this has been wonderful to see. And it's again going back to that firm belief. It's like we make a movie we love, and hopefully people love watching it. And then if at the end of the day, like we just want people to have a good time watching something. So I think it's like, if someone had to throw a movie on like a Friday evening or a Saturday evening or something, like Lowlifes has so much to offer in terms of just like a fun, good time, regardless of who it is. And I think that's the one thing. It's like we just didn't want to make anything boring or anything that's like going to let people down. Like at least like give as much as we could to the gore and the techniques within the time that we had possible. So yeah, it's we're just kind of like the marketing. I think, yeah, the word of mouth is always the thing. And the other thing is like, we'll always have our legacy as our filmmakers too. It's like, we're going to keep making movies. We're going to make, we have some really fun, interesting projects on the horizon that I can't really talk about or disclose, but eventually
divulge your secrets.
I can't. Yeah. But you know, it's like, as that progresses too, I think like people will come back to these films and be like, oh, this is where things have started, or this is where like things have come from. And I really want to, we're so confident that this is not like, we have so much more in us. So we're very excited to kind of put those kinds of films out there too. And I think like when eventually like so many people discover the people's films over a catalog as well, and that also helps with the longevity. And yeah, it's just a good way to let people have fun. So we didn't come in with a lot of expectations. We just wanted to see how far this could go. And I think the one thing the whole Lowlifes experience has taught us is like to just kind of probably ride that spirit moving forward instead of like, you know, we came in with so much stacked against us and so many people telling us like, oh, this is impossible within these days. Like everyone pointed to like the other Tubi originals or anything like that, or like kind of like, oh, this is what happens within these constraints or anything. But we were just like, I don't think so. It's like, we're just going to go do our thing. And yeah. And, you know, now the word of mouth is, yeah, again, like you sharing it, talking about it. When Mitch sent me your review, it was just like so great to just see like people find it and be like, wow, this is like different. It's like putting it on. It's like, it really harkens back to, I think, that early, like, the 90s and 2000s when you would just like pick up like a random VHS and just plug it into the TV without like a lot of reviews and like, you know, critical things. Because even if this
is dice roll,
the dice roll, and we want to kind of have something like that here. And I think even if people find it and be like, oh, there's a twist and everything like that, for us, we always just wanted to make something that also feels good if people know about the twist. Like we wanted to make sure that a lot of the stuff that was shot pre-twist never did the characters injustice. You could still see like the mannerisms about them that are very like still about them, and we weren't trying to hide it. And then if anything, it'll be rewarding on a rewatch type of thing. So as long as like, I think with especially like making twisty films, like even with influencer and everything, we have like a firm belief that like I don't want to ever make a film for just the twist, like M. Night Shyamalaning it or something like that, where everything rides and dies on like the twist being great. Instead, you just you got to make a movie that stands on its own 2 feet without just the twist, which is like the characters have to be great, the story's got to be great, like you got to have fun every minute, and it's obviously like just a great time start to finish, regardless of like you knowing what happens or what it doesn't. And even with the twist, there's the lines, you know, the iconic line that everyone on Letterboxd is talking about and whatever, like even that is like a mini twist on its own, because when you get to experience those moments, you can't like give it all away. And there's so many great moments of mayhem. It's got a lot to it. So, you know, from a reviewing standpoint too, if like someone did give it away, I don't think either of us would like be that upset about it, because I think the movie is a lot more than its twist as well.
Sure. And I think if we cared that much about it too, we probably wouldn't have revealed it so early on, which is you know, one of those things too where there's more. This movie isn't good. It's not just its twist, and that's something that we really tried focusing on. Another thing that you guys mentioned in your review was how horrible you felt for Julianne and Brenna, like Savannah, or Cassandra Sawtelle, who played Julianne, and Brenna Llewellyn, who played Savannah. And it's like us being able to get actors of that caliber that you just really care for and you grow to love. It makes it so much more impactful. So I just loved hearing that, because even while we were shooting it, there were moments where our heart was breaking. And it's like, yes, can't wait to torture all of you. All of you being the audience.
Yeah, it is torturous.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on, I'm gonna make Tesh blush here a little bit. So we just going back to what we were talking about earlier. We're gonna get some influencer love here. This is Allie. She's someone who frequents the channel very often. She's also one of my co-players on Outlast Trials. You guys gamers at all?
We dabble.
Yeah. If you haven't played Outlast Trials, it's a very fun game to play with friends. We also have Durton here, Loved Influencer, Maya here. These are all big.
Influencer was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
pretty
cool. Great
cool.
movie.
A lot of influencer love in the comments. Wanted to share it when we were talking about it. You said you had a lot in the pipe still. You're excited about your future. You said you're a Tarantino fan. You gonna set your 10 film limit, Tesh?
Never. No, I think that some of the greatest things about the legacy of the filmmakers that come before us is we don't have to I think if I had a 10 film limit, it's kind of funny when we got Lowlifes as a script. That was something that we were kind of grappling with when we were facing with all of the constraints and the limits ahead of us. It's one of those things where you want your first movie to be this perfect thing. If I were to if I waited to have a Reservoir Dogs as my first directing film, I wouldn't have made Lowlifes, and that would have deprived everyone of the fun that this is by us just not choosing to make it, right? It's the thing is these films where we can bring in our filmmaking sensibilities, give them such a breadth and such a light that if there's just a fun project to do in between some of the bigger projects, I think that's what we landed on after this is we'll do fun projects. We'll work together again. I'm not such it's just a Tesh solo thing or a Mitch solo thing, but there's a fun way to navigate this industry, I think, without being so precious about worrying about those kinds of perfect filmography or anything like that, because I think with everything said and done, I would rather have just the best movies across the board and the movies that are always fun. But I want to aspire to have 10s, but I'm also happy having a solid fun movie that someone's just gonna just sit down and watch. And I think it's just what the audience need. I mean, I think about that a lot. It's I think about the amount of really cool movies that we don't get to watch that Tarantino could make because he chooses this 10 film limit. If he just kind of
where's his Star Trek movie, man?
Exactly.
Or his Friday movie.
I would love to watch a Tarantino Star Trek
or Peter Jackson's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh my god,
stuff like that. It's
exactly.
Why didn't these happen?
Yeah. So
is there a project you know of that a director had in the pipeline that didn't work out that you wish happened? Either of you?
Oh God, there's so many.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to think off the top of my head, but I would have liked to see what Neil Blomkamp was going to do with Alien.
And RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop especially.
He was going to bring back Peter Weller to do a legit sequel.
He's
the perfect RoboCop director. But I'm stoked for Fede Alvarez's.
George Miller's Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been wild. That would have been wild. Yeah. Man, yeah. There's so many heartbreakers. You never know, though. I mean, obviously, but with these directors, you're pretty sure what you would have gotten would have at least been memorable. But there are those ones like Tarantino's Star Trek where they were so heavy into production on that, and you're I can't even fathom what a Star Trek from Tarantino would even look like. Just because Star Trek is nothing like Tarantino. But yeah, Nolan wanted to do a Bond movie. He was going to do Casino Royale, but they didn't let him do that. There's so many what ifs that could have happened. What about you guys? That's a good question. If you could have your big franchise film, what do you want to do? Each one of you. Is it a horror movie? Is it an action movie? Is it a drama? It has to be a sequel franchise thing, though. We'll keep it in the confines of that.
Mine. I have a big one that's not really a sequel. I just, like I said, Jaws is my favorite movie of all time. I love the making of Jaws. I've always wanted to see a movie about the making of Jaws. And now that
Oh.
I said that, someone else is going to get to it, which is fine because they'd probably do a better job with it than I would. But it is like, that's my favorite thing in the world. But I think, you know, what felt good about Lowlifes is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of my bread and butter as well.
Yeah.
Even if you see my shorts, like I'm very much into the rural, small town, grimy aesthetic.
Yeah.
Also love, there's so many places to go in a different direction with that now. Because that was a big thing too, is we never wanted to make the same movie. And this whole movie is about subverting expectations. So like it was a very conscious decision. I will absolutely give Tesh credit for this too, is that he was a big portion of the masterminding behind making the Clearys not just generic rednecks that we've seen a million times. Like these are real human beings.
Yes.
And I think that brought a lot of, you know, original flavor to what we did. But Evil Dead, absolutely as well. Like I'd kill to be in that franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's that's a really good answer though. I really like that. The like the behind the scenes making of Jaws is a wonderful answer, actually.
Yeah, I love movies like that, like Ed Wood and, you know, even American Movie, like those types of
American
movies
Movie. I showed her that maybe a year or so. Well, actually maybe less.
It's so good.
It's so good,
So
man.
good.
I've been raving about that movie for 20 plus years. I remember when it came out and just being like inspired in this really weird way, because you know, Mark is such like a, I don't, for anyone who hasn't seen American Movie, it's about this guy named Mark Borchardt who really wants to make a horror movie desperately, but he has so many different limitations. And it's a real documentary about his life and his family and his friends. And it's wildly inspiring because he's so passionate. I've never seen a guy so passionate and somehow just can't ever make it happen. Because after that movie came out, you were like, okay, like let's get Northwestern made, like let's do this finally. And he had that Scare Me movie in the works for 100 years. And it was like, where is this movie? And it's just such a shame that someone's so passionate about making movies. Did you ever actually see Coven? Because it's on the DVD.
Yeah, I still never seen it.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
You should actually watch it. He actually has talent.
Yeah.
Coven, not Coven. Is actually very good. Tesh, have you ever seen what we're talking about? American Movie?
Yeah, I've seen American Movie. I haven't seen Coven yet. I actually have that DVD somewhere, I think. Like,
yeah, it's on there. It's about 45 minutes long. I like it. I mean, it's not great or anything, but it has some good aesthetic shots. I think he actually understands the genre pretty well, and that's pretty obvious in the documentary. But if you guys haven't watched Patrick H. Willems, have you ever watched him on YouTube?
Yep. Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff.
He just did a Jaws video. This
about the shark.
Very last video, just how different the film would have been if the shark had worked. So I think I think that's a super fascinating film idea to explore the making of Jaws, because there's just so much behind what happened, and I really like that idea. That's actually a smart idea, because that's not just throwing another sequel. Making some behind the scenes thing like that is really cool.
What are your ones?
You better one up him with your answer, man. We have a vote here, though. I'll tell you that right here. You should do Killer Clowns. How are you feeling about that? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I could knock that out of the park. Yeah, I would love to see what that would look like, honestly. Mitch would know this. I'm pretty like, okay, that's interesting, and I'll have a take, and it'll be fun. For me, I think like my dream franchise is Sandman. It's a graphic novel that they turned into
the Netflix
kind of
series.
a mediocre Netflix series. But the imagination and the places that can go, it's something, and that's something I would actually do in animation as well. Rather than live action. It's just something that story and the graphic novel is such a huge part of influences for me, and I would just love to like bring like a really great adaptation of that to light. But if not, I don't. What else? What other franchise? That's an interesting question. I might do like a fun Alien versus Predator movie in the future.
Yeah.
I personally want to see Tesh take on like any of the biggest franchises and just see him like turn into something completely different, because that's something he's very, good at too.
I think that the realm of possibility for you guys to do an Evil Dead film is actually not that far off of with the realm of possibility, only because the two new directors that they got attached to these both made pretty comparable level films to what you guys made. If you guys haven't yet, I mean, it hasn't been released yet, but The Last Stop in Yuma County,
I can't wait for that movie.
it's very, very good. We got a screener, very, very like Coen Brothers, Tarantino-esque, Bad Times at the El Royale, but it is a smaller budgeted film. It's got a great cast. But then the other film, of course, was the movie Infested, which just got released on Shudder. And yet again, I feel like these are caliber level films to what you guys put out, in my opinion. And so, so Sam Raimi just seeing your movie and being like, these guys have talent, especially knowing what you were working against. I wouldn't, I'm not saying Evil Dead's happening or obviously anything like that. I'm just saying it might be closer to reality than you might think, because these other films, you would never expect that, especially like Infested. I can see. Last Stop in Yuma County is nothing Evil Dead-ish at all. So I don't know where he got that from there, but he is.
That's what excites me about that pick, though. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he's going to do with it, because so much has been done in that franchise already. I love them all, but yeah, I'm very much excited to see what. I love it when filmmakers like that take on projects like this, because you're going to get something different. You're not just going to get a carbon retread.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have any like actors or actresses that you would love to work with? Anybody that you're like, I want them in my movie?
I think we both made the Carl Urban joke a few times when we were
he's out. The best. I mean, if you guys have Carl Urban in your movie, you've made it, because he's just in all the best shit.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, big time.
Nick Cage just says he's retiring. Which is such a shame.
I didn't know
he
that.
said he's kind of said everything he has to say, and he wants to wrap it up.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, until he gets to work with Tesh and Mitch, then he's gonna be like, you know what? I'm coming out of retirement.
Con Air too, baby.
Style.
Willem Dafoe. Yeah.
Oh, Willem's the best. Did you guys see Poor Things?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, what a wonderful film.
Yeah.
He's just, I mean, is there a bad Willem Dafoe performance? If it exists, I don't know about it.
No.
I don't know.
Not from Willem Dafoe. Well, he's been in bad movies, but not a bad Willem Dafoe.
Oh, sure. But like The Lighthouse, another fave performance of mine. Of course, he's as over the top as he gets in Boondock Saints. There was a firefight. Like he's just, he's always at 100. There's a 10, there's an 11, and then there's Willem Dafoe. That's just on this other stratosphere. But somehow he always seems to make it work. Even like Spider-Man, he's like the perfect fit. It's just he's fucking brilliant. He's so wonderful.
I love him in Spider-Man.
Yeah, obviously, like I don't know like who you could ever compare to Willem Dafoe. He's one of the greatest actors to ever live. But like I have like so many of just like people from like my youth that have been in movies that are really important to me. Like Devon Sawa is a big one for me. Like I would love to work with him, because I grew up off Idle Hands and Final Destination, Casper, and all that stuff.
Yeah, of course. Have you been watching the Chucky show? Because he's in it. He plays 5 different characters in the show.
That's what I said when it first came out. I was like, the only thing better than one Devon Sawa is 2 Devon Sawas. Now there's so many fucking Devon Sawas.
So now he's president of the freaking United States.
It's such a funny, I love it. I love not knowing what character he's going to be, and be like,
and let's not forget SLC Punk, because he's hilarious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you guys, those are your big names, huh? Willem Dafoe, man, you guys are swinging for the fences with that. I like it. It ain't no small timers. You're not going for like, horror actors that are selling their freaking hours for like pennies on the dollar these days. You're going for the big dogs. I like it. But like really cool people too. Not like, I don't know. I love these answers. Dafoe.
They're great.
Yeah. Dafoe needs to be a Batman villain. in the Robert Pattinson Batman movies. I want to see him as someone. I'm not sure who yet. I have to think about it, but he needs to be a Batman villain at some point. I know he already did the Spider-Man thing, but I want to see a more like that's my pick there. Real quick, let's go to some comments here real quick before let's see. Saw the musical. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Kevin Williamson
Tesh would crush that.
First hated the studio forcing the whole movie to get a reshoot as PG-13. Yeah, that movie was cursed, man. I've heard nothing but horrendous things about the production of that. You guys obviously always knew your film was going to be like R-rated, and I'm sure when you came into it, they were like, I'm curious on that. Actually, I have a really interesting question when it comes to this, because I've been stating for years, and this is something I've been very hard on, like companies like Shudder, for instance, when they do like their originals. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, as a horror fan, as somebody who loves violence and gore, I'm a big gore hound. And, something like Hatchet 2, they wanted to make that and get it into theaters unrated, right? And he pushed really hard for that to happen, and they were going to release it, and there was all this hubbub about it and back and forth, and putting all of that aside, just thinking about all of that, and then going into the streaming age, where I'm like, you know what? Fuck the MPAA. Like, you don't even need to get approved by them to get on Shudder, right? Like, so I don't understand why Shudder doesn't just make the most hardcore film and be like, appeal to gore fans like us. Do you guys have a limitation within Tubi's confines where they like, listen, you can't be doing this or that? Did they talk to you about like an R rating, or like what the confines of like gore and violence and brutality and depravity was? I'm super curious on that, because Tubi doesn't have to get an R. Like, they could release the shit unrated. Who cares? It's not going to theaters. So I don't understand why they wouldn't. And did they talk to you guys about that?
We had some conversations, but for the most part, they I think it's interesting. What can I say about Tubi, Mitch? It's like, I think they just kind of like, they just give the days the money and they just kind of tell people to do it. It's just like, you kind of get what they get. And then when they got what we gave, they were like, this is great.
Yeah. Like, I was actually kind of surprised.
They were like, this is actually good. What did you guys do?
It's one of those things, because like, I know the story very well too, about like Adam Green and Hatchet 2 and everything. And you look at that movie, that has some of the most miraculous kills out there. Like, that movie's insane. But I was genuinely curious about what it was going to look like once we delivered the film, and like what was going to be able to stay in there and get pulled out. I was fully ready to have my heart broken, but we pretty much kept everything in there.
Sorry, our cat like just appeared.
Sorry. Yeah.
Here she is.
Hi, Bean. She will not be seen. She's an attention whore. Sorry, go on.
No, just basically we delivered the movie and nothing was really cut out. Like, we pretty much swung for the fences. I mean, it was them that bought the script as well. So I think they had to have some form of understanding of what they were getting us to film. But we still managed to fit in some pretty gnarly stuff in there, which I was excited about.
Was there anything like didn't get in that you wish you could have, as far as like, obviously it's always like, once you watch the film, you're like, I wish I did this different, but was there like an effect, a kill, and a, something that you were like, I really want to get this in, and it just didn't happen?
Yeah, we weren't thinking of it that way, just because we knew what we had to work with, and there's just a reality to what we're able to accomplish with that. But we were still able to pull off some pretty wild stuff. But of course, they're like, if we were to be given 5 times the budget, I'm sure we'd be able to amp up the level of insanity of what we were able to do.
Yeah. I think just
would you have wanted to?
In a few places.
I think like just in terms of the way moments were executed more than anything else, it's like, we really kind of shot it in the way that was feasible within the time constraints that we had. But if we had more time, then you would just gotten more stylized shots, more moments, more gore, more like, and more like, I think more like build up towards deaths and gore too. I think like tension and build up is such a important element to be able to like stretch those out and really hone in and be very precise with that. Would have been like wonderful to have, but those are some of the things that you kind of lose with time as well. And we kind of got away with like being able to do things on a very fast kind of thing. But yeah, it's and Mitch and I care so much about like the practicals and how to like build it and augment it and set it up over time. So it's like something that's really fun to do if you have a lot of time. It's just kind of like something we necessarily didn't get to try, but just kind of like progressive like damage for something, you know. It's like not just like one clean chop, but like deteriorating chop, like maybe like someone's arm is trying to get hacked off, and then you see it progressively try and get hacked off as like the fight scene is progressing, and they're trying to dodge it, and it just keeps taking more and more of a beating till it's finally like lopped off type of thing. Could be really fun to do, but like to set those kinds of like gory stages up is not necessarily possible, but we did our best with what we had.
Yeah. Well, one thing we, as you were saying earlier, Tesh, too, like I feel like the passion that you guys had and how much fun you were having, like everybody making the film does come through. And we often notice that when you have like the passion, even with a lower budget, like directors tend to get really creative. Like it kind of, you know, makes you work within, you know, a smaller range. But I also wanted to, somebody in the comments was asking about the release in Canada.
We talked about that.
I know, but they came later, so I just wanted to let them know.
They can watch the replay.
Friday, May 10th.
Yeah.
Crave.
But that's on Crave. Crave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you
just
go.
wanted to make sure they knew that.
And yeah, man, with you saying that The Thing is your favorite film, if you weren't about practicals, you'd be a poser.
Oh yeah, we do a lot of practicals in our stuff, like even some of my other shorts and everything too. It's a big component of it. And I think like the other thing too is like we did have like a pretty good mesh with VFX as well. It's like there's a beautiful blend of just a small sprinkle of VFX that can really augment the practical.
Sure.
That's kind of like really awesome to find the balance. But yeah, it's like Andy Lee, our special effects makeup artist, is just a phenomenal mad scientist. He pretty much like built all of the practicals with the box of scraps in a cave, essentially. If he had to like compare really
Iron Man reference.
Yeah, it's what did he have, like 10 grand as like his like practical effect?
It was something insane. Like,
yeah,
this movie doesn't happen without Andy.
Yeah.
And especially it's so nice seeing people point that out too, because that was like one of our many limitations, and it's nice to see people embracing, you know, the practical and like the love of the art behind it, and that Andy's just full to the brim of that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, you guys did wonderful with the limitations you had, and that's why we're here. We wouldn't be interviewing losers. We interview winners. This is why we've interviewed 2 of the 3 directors now from the Tubi originals we like, and then the other ones I'm like, oh my god, don't write me, I don't know you. No. Yeah, I mean, I think these are the kinds of movies though that you can flub so easily, because Tubi kind of throws something at you so complex. You guys were definitely working with something better, to be honest. I mean, you made it better by your talent for sure. But some of these other Tubi originals, dude, I don't care if you brought in frickin', you know, you brought Kubrick back from the dead. He's not doing anything with that script, especially on like a 2-week time constraint with like this small budget and everything. Maybe he could elevate it to some degree, but man, some of these scripts are terrible. So shout out to your script for sure. And the guy who is not here right now, Kaplan, what was his name? What's his name?
Al Kaplan. Yeah,
that's what I thought. I was in my head, I was like Al Capone, and then I was like, is it Al, or did I just say that because I thought it was Al Capone when I first read it? I was like, Al Capone wrote this fucking movie? That's cool. So it is Al Kaplan. Okay. I'm good on that. So yeah, shout out to him.
Great script.
Yeah, and shout out to you guys for coming on,
Yeah,
talking to us. giving
for
us your precious time. We look forward to seeing what you're going to do here in the future, even though it's all super hush hush. You can't tell us anything at all, right?
Can't. No.
Neither one of you. Okay, they're secretive guys.
I can. Bit more.
You can't even. They can't have a Tom Holland moment and just give an oopsie little slip. No.
We don't have the. We can't afford the lawyers to.
Yeah, exactly.
You can. Stupid Spider-Man.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it.
Influencer 2 or bust. There you go. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And yeah, I would point people towards your next project, but there's not there. Hopefully, you're gonna have to come back and promote it when you can talk about it. How about that?
Sure.
Yeah, just enjoy Lowlifes for now. And once again, thank you guys so much for sharing it around and spreading the love, because it goes a long way.
Our pleasure. We had a great time watching it. So
yeah absolutely. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on, and thank you to everyone in the comments for hanging out.
Thank you, Dad.
There's a lot of fighting with your dad and your future husband or something. I don't exactly know what was going on down there, but
yeah, I didn't see anything that was going on, but I'll go back and take a look, and I apologize in advance.
No, keeps it fun. Keeps it fun. So, anything else you guys want to say?
No, just thank you. Thank you for enjoying movies.
Yeah, of course.
All
right.
Love you, son.
We'll end it on that. There you go. All right, guys.
He finally said it.
Yeah.
Right.
He finally said